Amy Carlson told her followers she was 34 million years old. She was the reincarnation of Marilyn Monroe, of Jesus, of Joan of Arc. She called herself Mother God. And thousands of people, many of them isolated, many grieving, believed her. Love Has Won operated largely through live streams. Followers watched Amy drink colloidal silver around the clock. They sent money. They sent supplements. Some sold their homes to join her in Colorado. This is what Leon Festinger identified in 1956. Cognitive dissonance doesn't dissolve a belief system when it's disproved. It intensifies devotion. When Amy's health visibly deteriorated on camera, followers interpreted it as spiritual sacrifice. When she died in April 2021, her mummified body was found in a sleeping bag, decorated with Christmas lights and surrounded by crystals. Investigators called it a death by silver toxicity and neglect. Her inner circle called it ascension. That gap between observable reality and group interpretation is the core mechanism of high control belief. This was episode 15. In 2020, while most of the world retreated indoors and sought stability, a growing number of people found their anchor in a live stream. The stream ran almost continuously. Its host, a woman in her late 50s named Amy Carlson, sat in front of a camera for hours at a time, drinking from a large cup, surrounded by crystals and printed images of galactic charts and ascended masters. She told her audience she was 534 million years old, that she had incarnated as Marilyn Monroe, Joan of Arc, Cleopatra, and Jesus of Nazareth, that she was currently Mother God, the feminine counterpart to a cosmic father, and that she had chosen this final human life to shepherd humanity through its galactic ascension. And thousands of people sent her money to keep the stream running. Love Has Won is a case study in what happens when parasocial dynamics, the one-way emotional bonds people form with media personalities, combine with a totalistic belief system. Amy's followers didn't just watch her. They believed they were in relationship with her. They sent her personal messages. They prayed for her. They celebrated her birthday. They grieved when she was ill. The intimacy was real. Its reciprocity was not. Amy addressed her audience collectively as family. She named her inner circle. She created an us versus them cosmology in which skeptics were not merely wrong. They were spiritually blocking humanity's ascension. This framing made critical thinking an act of cosmic harm. Over the course of the live streams, archived and reviewed by investigators, Amy Carlson's physical condition visibly declined. She was consuming colloidal silver in large quantities. Colloidal silver, when ingested chronically, deposits in the skin, causing a condition called argyria, permanent blue-gray discoloration. It can cause kidney damage. It has no proven medical benefit. Her inner circle, those who lived with her in Crestone, Colorado, described giving her alcohol, cannabis, and various supplements. Medical professionals were not consistently involved in her care. Her followers watched her deteriorate on camera and interpreted it as the toll of carrying humanity's spiritual burden. That is not naivety. That is a belief system that has successfully reframed observable physical decline as confirmation of its central narrative. In 1956, Social psychologist Leon Festinger published When Prophecy Fails, a study of a small doomsday group that had predicted the end of the world. When the date passed without incident, Festinger expected the group to dissolve. Instead, it grew. Members recruited more aggressively. They reinterpreted the failed prophecy as evidence of their own faith saving the world. Festinger identified the mechanism. When a belief is deeply held and identity constituting, when everything has been sacrificed in its service, its disconfirmation doesn't produce doubt. It produces increased commitment because the alternative is confronting that the sacrifice was meaningless. Love Has Won followed this pattern precisely. Every visible failure of Amy's health, every financial drain on followers, every prediction that didn't materialize, each was absorbed into the narrative as further evidence of spiritual warfare, cosmic testing, or the sacrificial nature of Mother God's mission. Amy Carlson died in April 2021. When Taos County authorities responded to a call about an unresponsive person, they found her body in a sleeping bag decorated with Christmas lights. She was surrounded by crystals and printed images. Her body showed signs of mummification. The medical examiner's report listed the cause of death as organ failure, consistent with chronic silver toxicity, malnutrition, and end-stage alcoholism. Her inner circle, who had been present at her death, had delayed calling authorities. Several members stated publicly that Amy had ascended, that she had chosen the moment, that her body was a sacred object. The dissonance between the official medical findings and the community's interpretation was total. Several members of Amy's inner circle were charged with child abuse for exposing minors who lived in the household to the living conditions there. The charges illustrated something important. Love Has Won was not purely a digital phenomenon. There were real people living in real conditions that investigators found dangerous. The online audience, many of whom had given thousands of dollars, were largely shielded from those conditions. What they saw was the curated stream. Love Has Won generated revenue through donations, merchandise sales, and paid readings and healings offered by Amy and her inner circle. Former members have estimated the organization collected millions of dollars over its operational period. The money flowed inward. Housing, food, and supplements for the inner circle. Supplements that were also sold to followers as spiritually activated products. The financial architecture was not incidental to the belief system. It was integrated into it. Giving money was an act of spiritual alignment. Traditional cult analysis focuses on geographic isolation, removing members from their existing social world. Love Has Won operated differently. Followers remained in their homes, but their attention, their primary emotional and social investment, was directed inward to the stream, to Amy, to the community of fellow believers in the chat. Their existing relationships atrophied not because they were physically removed from them, but because they were psychologically elsewhere. Digital parasocial groups represent a new vector for the same old mechanism. Amy Carlson was not a sophisticated manipulator in the classical sense. She was a woman with a grandiose belief system and a camera. The conditions that made Love Has Won possible, social isolation, algorithmic amplification, the parasocial intimacy of live streaming, and the genuine human need for meaning and community, those conditions have not changed. What the case teaches us is not to look for manipulators with elaborate schemes. It teaches us to look for belief systems that make their own failure impossible to recognize. This was episode 15 of the Mind Control Archive.